Hello and welcome to FQ Vlogs. Yes, this is my video blog. We've all been reading about Occupy Buffalo. It's something happening in the United States, the biggest democracy in the world, where what we see is from time to time the people go against what the government or what the system is doing. And we see not a revolt, but what we in the rest of the world might see as a revolt. We're going to talk about that. And joining me over Skype is Susan Marie out of Buffalo, New York. Hi, Susan.
Hi, hello, good morning.
Oh, well, yeah, good evening for me, good morning for you, so good morning.
Yeah, exactly.
Susan, you do this podcast called Think Twice Radio. So I'm going to start with asking you to introduce what Think Twice Radio is all about.
Think Twice Radio was created by Richard Wicca in Buffalo, New York, and he had worked many years in a lot of our arts and cultural organizations, and he decided that there weren't enough people that were getting a voice that needed a voice.
Okay.
The subterranean, not the mainstream. So he created Think Twice Radio, which is internet-based, and basically as a producer, he gives you all rights to do whatever you want on your show. So you have your radio show, you can do whatever you want with it. It's just your choice. So what I chose to do with my show is to interview people that the mainstream typically does not talk to. And through that I was able to reach out to so many people, not only in my city, in America, but now the world. So, and with the beauty of technology, I'm able to talk to people in other nations as we are right now.
Well, that's really interesting because I frankly didn't know the background, but that's really why I have conceived Speak for Change, because, and of course 24/7 online TV where we are right now, because I personally feel mainstream media, which I'm a part of, does not give space to the people's voice, to the blogger's voice, and today just about everyone in the world has something to say. So thus I started these things. So it's quite interesting, and I fully agree with what you guys are doing. So what have you, I mean, I've heard some of your podcasts. So what exactly are you trying to achieve with your podcast or your radio broadcast?
What my biggest thing is all about awareness, all about education. I see are borders everywhere, separating all of us, and we're all human beings. And what I've noticed is not only in my city and in America, and then when I reached out globally, is that we're all separated. And what are we separated by? We're separated by government, we're separated by media. They all separate us. So when we break through, like you say, the blogging, the internet, the technology, the other ways of being social media, things like that, then I was able to break through to people and they could tell me their story. Thus, I could bring it to America and say, listen, this is someone in Tunisia who was just in the Arab revolt. And people are like, wow, because here we may get, a watered down version or a media version. Then I could talk to people who are in Pakistan. They will talk about the floods or they'll talk about this. I talked with Amana Masood. She spoke about missing persons. Nobody knows about that stuff here as mainstream unless you talk to people and you know people, or you're involved with it. So there are many people that I spoke to in the world. When the Mavi, when that happened, I spoke with Yara Lee, who was on the Mavi Marmara, and she was able to tell me exactly what had occurred, which obviously the media did not report again. Now, I'm not bashing the media because we need it, but again, I like to talk directly to people. Talking directly to people, that's my truth, because it comes from the mouths of the people living in the situation.
Okay, there are conspiracy theories all over the world, and I'm a massive conspiracy theorist. My first comment, and I tell you, there'll be a lot of comments when people see this video, oh, you are a CIA agent, you're sitting out there and you're penetrating the minds of the people all over the world, and you're disseminating American Zionist influence everywhere. So how do you respond to that?
No, I'm laughing. I get the same thing.
You get the same thing, right? There you go.
Somebody told me the other day, they said, you work for the agency. And I said, which agency? There's a lot of them. No.
So,
yeah, it's funny.
So you're not with the agency, are you?
No, I said, if I'm with the agency, we are all in trouble.
Okay, if I may ask, is there monetization to this effort of yours?
To Think Twice Radio?
Yeah.
No, not at all. It is totally, totally out of loving what you do, connecting to people, kind of just having the love of getting the truth out there. So no, I do not get paid for doing that, but I absolutely love doing it.
So this is where your free time is going. This is not your bread and butter. This is not your day job.
Right. No.
Okay.
I have my own business, which is Susan Marie Public Relations. That's my business. Think Twice Radio. I absolutely love doing it. It's so fun. Like what we're doing right now absolutely drives me to do everything.
I relate completely because primarily we are a software house. We have various businesses and whatever's going into this effort is really coming out of our own pocket. There's no real monetization yet, but let's hope it goes. Talk to me about Occupy Buffalo. What's that all about?
Okay, Occupy Buffalo, to go back a little bit, I'm going to just quickly talk about Occupy Together. And what Occupy Together is a main hub for all of the events that are springing across, starting with Occupy Wall Street. Obviously, that was the first one, because they decided, okay, we as American people, we need to fight back because the economy is decimated. So the first thing to go to was obviously Wall Street. That's the biggest financial, district that is here in America. So it started with Occupy Wall Street. So Occupy Together is a main hub that anybody can go to if you want to start an occupation. And all they are there for is to provide information for you, valuable information that you need, legal help, information on occupations, how to keep yourself healthy, all kinds of things like that. So that goes back to then OccupyWallStreet.org, and they're both orgs. So you can go to both of these, OccupyWallStreet.org and OccupyTogether.org. There is so much information for each city to start their own occupation.
Right.
So I was on Twitter watching all of this occur and watching the hashtags and the news feeds come in on Occupy Wall Street and following it for a long time. And then I happened to see a couple of handles come up that said Occupy Buffalo, and because I was sitting here going, I've got to do this in my city. I mean, this has got to happen here. This is New York. It started in New York City. We're in Buffalo. And people were already jumping on the bandwagon. And the important thing to remember is this whole movement is leaderless. So there's not one person who's in charge, because it goes by the 99% are all of us, and the 1% is the corporate, okay? So when you look at, most of the people are suffering and struggling, even though when you look at America, and yes, we have so much more than so many people that I speak to. However, for it being America, you shouldn't have to suffer and struggle and not have food and lose your home. This should not be happening here, okay? We have things in place and laws and constitutions and, all kinds of bodies of government. But so Occupy Buffalo started with a collective of people in Buffalo, New York, and Western New York.
Yeah.
And basically we just all got together. The movement started to grow. Now it's huge. They're occupying. I went up one evening there to occupy, and they're occupying as of this morning. I haven't found out yet. They may or may not be arrested. Because one thing in America...
I was reading on the blog site, or I think on the Facebook page, you are having police trouble.
Right, and this is only the 4th day of occupation, and this is what's happening. A lot of other cities are getting hit really bad. It depends on, obviously, the police, how they react, how the people are reacting. It's a peaceful demonstration for your rights, civil, human, legal rights that are in our Constitution. In the Declaration of Independence for America, it says it is your duty as an American citizen to speak when your government and your society is no longer working for you.
Okay, now,
and it's not. It's not.
When you say occupation, elaborate. What do you mean? Are you just taking over a space, refusing to go home? Are you taking over public property?
Right.
Are you taking over, what sort of properties are you taking over?
Okay, well, it depends where you live, specifically in your town. And right now, which is wonderful, is like all of America's bursting. There is not one town or one neighborhood that does not have an occupation, and that all happened within like 2 days. It's absolutely fantastic. So an occupation, yes, you are taking over some sort of property. What that property is, it's specific to each city. Here, we don't have a financial district as we used to. It just does not exist because it's a working factory town. So we took over Niagara Square, which is right in front of our city hall, which is in the middle of our city. It's a main hub of the city. and it's a very busy part. It's where you're going to be seen and noticed, okay? So everybody decided on Niagara Square, and it is public property, but also when you have to look at things like human rights, you do have, and even in the Constitution, you do have the right to peaceful assembly and things like that. Then you have to look at city ordinance. So
you're not,
we had to do.
So you're not breaking any laws. You're not breaking any laws per se.
Not breaking any laws. This is what's important. Now there are city ordinances, okay, that each city has as well. Like for instance, you may be able to occupy, but you might have to get a permit to do it. See, these are the things that we're going to get to. Why
Susan, my question is, if you're not breaking any laws, why would the police clamp down on you, or how could the police come down on you?
Well, this is one main reason why the occupations are going on, because of the control that we no longer have as citizens. And even though we have rights, they're not really rights that are in effect as they should be. You know, you should be able to do these things in your town peacefully. I mean, right now they're up there occupying peacefully. They're not doing anything wrong. They're not hurting anybody. They're not causing any damage to property. They're following all rules, all regulations, not going in traffic.
Yet the system's coming after you.
Right, because that is city property, see? So you're on city property now. So because you're on city property, that is a city ordinance, so they're going to get you off of it.
Okay.
To give you an example.
I need to ask you a couple of more things exactly.
Go ahead.
The numbers, hang on, the numbers that are showing up and also what you're planning to achieve. I need to take a very, very short break here. So just stay with us, Susan. I'm going to take a quick short break. Thank you for staying with us. So Susan, you were saying you are occupying city property and they're using that leverage to remove you. And I'm going to add another question to you. What sort of numbers are showing up?
As in how many people are occupying?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It varies. During the day, you will see, well, on the weekend, there's a lot of people, obviously.
Okay.
This is one thing that needs to be understood. This movement is being put out as it's a jobless, uneducated, unemployed, hippie, flower child. No, it's none of that. It's the unions. It's the working poor. Mm-hmm. So now during the week, people have to go to work. You can't just,
of course,
you know, occupy. You have families, you have children, you have responsibilities. Okay, so people that can occupy, for right now, that are able to stay overnight, they do that overnight. So during the day, you will see a lot more people occupying, especially on the weekend. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see it wane off during the night. Like say there might be 10 or 15 people right now, and then during the day there could be like 200 people. There could be on the weekend, you know, so it varies. People will stop up, they'll go up for a couple of hours to support, they'll stay up all day long, they might just stay a night. So it's really...
So is this an indefinite plan? Are you going to go on endlessly?
Yes, it is indefinite. If you look at what started in New York City, the reason they were able to stay in that park is because it is not city-owned. It was privately owned, which is very, very important. Mm-hmm. In many cities, you don't have that. However, the whole idea of the occupation is that you are going to stay until certain demands are met. And there was a declaration that was put out by New York City, which is a great document. Mm-hmm. It literally encompasses all of the effects of the actions of the American government had on not only the American people, but the whole world. So it's a global document. And you can find that on Wall Street, Occupy Wall Street, NewYorkCity.org. It's a great document. It includes everything from human rights to war to everything, because everything that happens here affects everybody else in the world.
Absolutely.
You know? So the biggest thing was to get American people speaking out of this comatose state of there's nothing wrong and everything's fine, okay?
Yeah.
You know, and to bring you up to par, to reality, to stop being fearful. There's nothing to be fearful because we have the right to speak. So utilize that right. We also have the right to peacefully protest. Utilize that right. However, we've been taught you're not supposed to do that. It's wrong to do that. You will get in trouble if you do that. And that's not true. Under our Constitution, we have the right to do that.
Interestingly, you say that you've been taught not to protest and not to ask questions. But we, in the rest of the world, believe that the United States is the epitome of democracy, of civil rights, the right to speak, the right to ask questions. Yet you say you've been taught not to. I'd like you to ponder on that for a moment.
Okay, well, when you look at things such as, I would say the United States changed drastically, obviously, after 9/11, obviously.
Okay.
So when you look at that, and they started with the Patriot Act, and they added all of this terrorist nonsense, okay, they instilled fear in so many people, and literally, it worked. I will tell you that just from my experience, it worked. And people are afraid now to talk about the government or politics. And we don't live in a dictatorship, so why are you afraid to do this, okay? So that's the thing. People...
Interesting.
What I'm most proud of is that Americans are speaking and taking action. And what fueled that, literally, this is nothing like the Arab Revolt. I don't want people getting confused about that. But it is fueled by watching all of the Arab nations and how they really stood up, okay? And finally it made us go, wait a minute, you know what? We have the right to do this here. Why are we sitting around not doing anything?
Very interesting.
Where people did not have the right to do this, and they did.
Well, Susan, it's been really enlightening, and I would this is our first conversation. We're going to have to go now because we're running out of time. But I'm hoping that you guys succeed in what you're doing, and I hope that you would be able to feed us with images and videos of these events, so we can share them here on 24/7 Online TV. Do you think you'll be able to manage that?
Yeah, I sure will. I want to thank you, FQ, so much. And like I said, anybody wants to check that out, you just go to occupybuffalo.org. and or Occupy Wall Street, NewYork.org. You can find out all the information, and it is an endless movement. It's going to go on until needs are met, till basic needs are met.
Well, Godspeed, and let's hope we can work together in this global awareness. Susan, thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you.
That was Susan Marie talking to us about Occupy Buffalo. We will continue to bring to you things like this from all over the world. If you want to talk to me online, if you want to be part of this, you're welcome to write to me on fq@faisalcroatia.com, and keep watching this. Thank you very much. Till next time.